Cubs won, and I only felt like dying 43 times last night. And now we're on to the NLDS with Milwaukee, and they're really good. My friend Zach, if you're watching, he's a big Brewers fan, and has liked them since they were with the American League. So as a kid, and like I can't even talk crap to him. It's just, you know, Milwaukee's really good this year. And you know, in this scenario, the Cubs are the big, you know, the big team, the big market team coming in. So I definitely hope he loses still, and he feels bad about it. Sorry, Zach. Anyways, let's draw. So I've been doing, these recent pages are all splash pages. Something I'm trying. It's kind of not the culmination, but it's, in the story we finally, Lucifer's been missing, let's put it that way, and he's finally revealed in this. He showed up a little bit in the last issue, but he's definitely in the forefront of this issue, and he's talking to our main character about his existence, his purpose, his life. And we saw kind of earlier on in the last issue that he talks to God quite a bit. It's a one-sided conversation though. We don't see God talking to him, and we don't hear or, you know, read what he is saying. It, she, whatever. I'm not trying to define deities in this. In fact, I'll just go ahead and say, as a spoiler, you're never going to know. You're never going to see it. And now I'm doing basically Lucifer's kind of bearing his soul to the Gamjakoth. So stylistically, it felt like I needed to do something different, and so I decided to do full page splashes, and that seems to have worked really pretty well because I'm starting to, I don't know, show the scope of the environment that they're in. Also, what's really nice about this thus far is that it doesn't take me long to draw these pages. It's a lot of lettering, but it doesn't take me a long time to draw them. So I went ahead and did the roughs for both pages for next week. This one's cool. He's talking about how much he hated humanity, and that's partially what hell became, was a place to punish humanity. Anyways, a lot of this is philosophical. I'm not a theologian. This was supposed to be more of a workplace comedy, so I'm not taking this very seriously, and no one else should either. It should just be an enjoyable piece of fiction. So, and it's silly. There's a lot of silly stuff in this. There's two souls that have left that have never given, we don't know their names ever. I just call them in my head, to keep them straight, Ding and Dong. Loosely based off of Chandler and Joey from Friends. So I didn't use them as an exact guide, but kind of use the memory of them in Friends to do that, to build those characters. But they escape, so they're never processed into a torture camp or anything. And so they discover different forms of torture along the way. One is like a football jock getting noogies, like thonged out by a big football demon. but the guy's nose is like, he seems to be enjoying it. They find another group of people that are trying to match. There's like a giant pile of socks in this cage, and they're trying to match all the socks. They'll never get it done. So there's nothing too serious, but then there is like Beelzebub is trying to ascend the ranks of hell and just ultimately take charge since Lucifer is missing, and he tortures a lot of people. But even the torturing, like his crew, the Order of the Flies, which are basically just, I have it set up like it's a kind of a tech bro office, and they're like, why don't you just get a Skinner? Why are you trying to do this? This is not your best use of your talents. So even that's a little funny. I make a couple Hitler jokes. That's why this particular Gamjakoth is somewhat famous, is that he's found Hitler twice. Hitler's run away a couple times. So it's tongue-in-cheek, but anyways, I went ahead and prepped pages for this. And I'm going to turn off the cameras a little bit while I letter, because I need to focus, and I'm not going to be talking while I'm doing it. And yeah, after that, I think I'm going to have to watch my son for a little bit. But it's Friday, and that's always a good thing. Let's get to it. Okay, I'm done lettering. Again, I did both pages at the same time. Lettering, writing, roughing, and lettering are the three steps of the process that I have to like focus on. I can't really be distracted. I usually just sit here in silence. Or if I do listen to music, it's something with no lyrics. So sometimes electronica is okay. Classical music is always good. Sometimes a movie score. Just kind of depends on the mood I'm in. Lately, it's just been jazz. I've been listening to a lot of jazz, which is good. I enjoy jazz. And usually in the winter, I go for classical. And then after I'm done lettering, I'll do word balloons. Lettering is one of those things, it feels like riding a bike. Like, you can get into trouble if you go too fast, but you can also get into trouble if you go too slow. If that makes sense. Hand lettering, at least. I will use a font if this is for like a commercial project. But I like hand lettering because it, I think, lends a little bit of warmth to my artwork, and it's also part of my personality. So, and if there's an opportunity for me to hand letter, I will. It takes longer. I sometimes feel good about it, and sometimes I feel like I'm not that good. But the important thing is, I'm good enough where you're not going to notice. You're just going to read through. If you have particularly bad hand lettering, you should use a font. But you can just practice too and get pretty good at it. Anyway, there's a few times while I was lettering that, like, you kind of get in your own head, like, am I zoomed in too far? Am I not far enough out? You know, it's little stuff. If you start to think about the process too much, then it starts to mess up. The other thing now is I have to do balloons. And balloons used to be one of my favorite parts of the process. Doing it digitally is awesome. By digitally, I mean when I was a letterer, a pro letterer, I used Adobe Illustrator and, you know, made my word balloons and used the font all in there. Doing word balloons by hand, now this is digital, I'm using Procreate, but I'm still using an Apple Pencil, so I'm doing it by hand. So in Procreate you can do like perfect ovals, like you can just kind of, you don't have to draw a perfect oval, but you can do this and then like hold and it'll snap into an oval. That's fine, but I think it kind of makes your work look a little amateurish, like you don't know what you're doing. So what I like to do is warp the balloon a little bit. It's called squaring your balloons. It's really easy to do in Illustrator. You just use the direct selection arrow and just select all sides of it, and then you can kind of scale it up a little bit, but you start with an oval. In Procreate, it's a little bit different. I'll show you right now. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, here are my layers. So inks, tone, color, roughs, guides, background color, white, obviously. So I'm just going to create a new layer because it's just easier to just do this on another layer, because you can, instead of having to make another step in the process would be to make a direct selection and then do that, and it's just easier. You can just use the arrow key and just whatever's on that layer will be selected. So I try to start these where I know there's going to be a tail. So there, boom, just like that. So now I've got like a perfect oval. See, I just select the arrow right there, and now it's immediately selected. I'm gonna kind of move it around. Now I'm gonna go hit warp, advanced mesh, and now I got these handles to kind of square up the balloon. Boom, just like that. Pretty easy. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap these up, and then we can talk about inking after. last night didn't go as planned. I had to watch my son for a little bit, and then roll into dinner, and then, yeah, just Friday night, and didn't get to everything that I wanted to. But that's okay, because it's Saturday morning. I had to get up early to get my hair cut with my son, so, and yeah, I'm gonna watch the Cubs later. Hopefully they win. I'm not feeling very good about it, but, you know, never do. Last night I got the tones done for, which page is this? I've got tones on first. So page 10, I haven't done page 9 yet, but typically I'm using just a, what am I using? A 45 degree dot, halftone dot pattern brush. Again, from True Grit Texture Supplies. It's called Beat Tones, is the name of the brush set. I kept it just to one halftone because I think you can go pretty crazy with these, and I just wanted to kind of consistently be one thing. I don't feel like my art's complicated enough to have multiple tones. So the reason why these are in tones, or why I'm using tones, is I'd like to print these in black and white at some point. So yeah, and then I'll do colors, and then I will get these ready to get published on Patreon. So, and who knows, I might just, depending on how much time I have today, I might just go ahead and do 2 more pages, because this was pretty easy. Yeah, I didn't feel bad at all not getting back to these last night, because it's just, yeah, pretty easy. So that's good. All right, without further ado, let's get started. Kind of a nice, relaxing Saturday morning. Got up at 6:30. Of course, the boy was already up and has been full of beans today. We've had some funny conversations. His new favorite thing is to tell us a joke, where he goes, "Hey, let me tell you something really quick," and then he pretends to burp, because I did that to him once in his ear, and he thought that was hysterical. So now he's doing it to everyone he knows, and it's pretty funny. We're also talking a lot about good guys and bad guys. He's very into superheroes right now and kind of black and white thinking, which I'd imagine is pretty common at this part of his life for most kids. So like today he was asking me if the Mandalorian was a bad guy, and without missing a beat, but with no self-awareness, I started to say, well, bounty hunting is a complicated profession. And I didn't make it sound like Werner Herzog, which I should have. So I can't believe I missed that opportunity. That's one of my favorite things in cinema history right now. I'm just cleaning up the halftones a little bit, shaping them up. with a kind of a precision eraser. Ugh. I don't know why I had such a hard time getting that out, mushmouth. Okay, this is done though. Now I'm going to start doing colors. With colors, I'm really just using one color. I'll turn off the tone and go to my color layer. And then, for instance, I'm using this Distress Press Natural Speckle Tone. And I just kind of use this for background texture. I don't use it for the characters themselves. And you don't need to do a whole lot. And then I'm going to go in and clean up the characters a little bit, just so they're not covered with the speckle tone. This is so much easier. Normally, I feel like half of my coloring process is erasing. Okay, yeah, that looks pretty good. Then I like using this crusty oil pastel for my figures. So again, I'm just using one color, but I'm separating different objects with different textures as a way to differentiate. And the reason why I'm doing this is I just hate colors. I've always loved black and white. Prefer black and white comics because I'm a bit of a masochist. You can't hide your flaws with colors when you're just doing black and white. Not that people that do their work in color are hiding flaws, but for me, I feel like it can be a bit of a cheat with my own work. So I like this kind of method because colors today, I did a black and white webcomic for years, and I think if I would have done it in color, it would have gotten a lot more notice. Not that it got bad notice or anything, I had a fairly decent sized audience, but I think it would have been larger had it been in color, just because the webcomics community kind of embrace color more, because why not? You know, you're not printing the work, usually you're just putting it online. So I feel like a lot of cartoonists took that as an opportunity, and I did not. And I don't regret it. I like not precision eraser. I like black and white, like I said, that's what I prefer, but this way it gives me it's a nice way to compromise, essentially, so I can kind of have both. You know, I'm not doing a whole heck of a lot with color, but I'm also not doing as much as I possibly could. Okay, so that's it for that page. It's pretty, again, the fact that, you know, most of this page is black. That's something else that I keep in mind, a bag of tricks, I guess, is using spot blacks as much as possible, because it adds weight to the page. There's not much going on in this page, but with all the black, it feels like there's a weight to the page. So it's just something I wish I would see more cartoonists take advantage of. And some do, some don't. All right, here's the one that we did last night. Oh, get his teeth. All right, turn that off. Turn on the tone layer. And we'll do the speckle tone brush. Again, look how easy this is. I swear, I mean, some of my pages, it's just, I feel like that's all I'm doing is erasing speckle tone, especially through the edges. Okay, back to the crusty oil pastel. So I'm using the color and tones with the idea that they're kind of light shadow. So I'm assuming that these two are backlit. That's typically how I use these. Another thing I like about it too is I've never done anything with like pure texture like this before. I've done some simple color and then made it look retro, and then I did a whole graphic novel using TrueGet Texture Supply's Craft Tone coloring method, which doing a whole graphic novel with was a lot, but it looks really cool. Not very practical, but it looks very cool. I don't regret it, but I think it looks better than... To get that retro look, essentially what you would have to do is use a Golden Age color palette in Photoshop, drop in flat color, and then use the color halftone filter. And that works, it just doesn't look like authentic, I guess. I mean, like if you really know what you're looking for, I don't begrudge anyone that uses that method, because doing a whole book in craft tone is pretty mental. I fully acknowledge that, but it's nice when you see someone doing it. It's cool, because I know how hard it is to do it with craft tone. And again, it's not like craft tone in and of itself is difficult. It's just the process is not. You gotta get pages done, and it's a long process to get through that. Some of this here. Okay. Use this hard eraser at first. Sure. That's cleaned up. And we're going to clean up the outside edges, which pretty good, just based off of being able to control my brush a little bit easier. I'm gonna erase some. I'm gonna change my eraser to the oil pastel too, so it kind of blends a little bit more naturally. A little bit more purposeful. pretty good. Yeah, I think that's good. All right. Pretty easy. Again, I couldn't decide last night. I could have easily just sat down and just like, however long this has been, maybe half an hour of finishing these pages up. But that's all I needed to do. But again, it was Friday night, and I was like, I'll have time in the morning. This is great, though. I've worked ahead for a change. So normally I'm doing my first page Monday night for it to be published on Tuesday morning. If I'm lucky. If I'm having a bad day where just like my schedule's been shot, it can take, I'll be doing it like that Tuesday, and sometimes it doesn't get done until like Tuesday at 11:59 p.m. But I try to get it out on that day as much as possible. I think I've only missed it once. And it wasn't by much. It was like 12:16 a.m. So this is good. You know, since I've been back in the office on Mondays and Thursdays, it's been tougher to get time done, and I've realized I need to work ahead more. So these pages are relatively easy, like you saw today, because I'm going for this splash page look throughout this whole section, with these two characters having this exchange of learning, but pretty straightforward to get these done. So I think what I'm going to try to do is work ahead and get, so this was pages 9 and 10, so I might even try to do 11, 12 today still, before the Cubs play, and we'll go from there. Anyway, yeah, I'll edit this all together and see how long it is. Probably pretty long. That's it. Have a great weekend. Go Cubs go. And yeah, that's it. Talk soon. It's going to be a long month for me. I'm going to be drinking a lot of beer, because I don't know if you know this, there's a lot of baseball games on. And if Cubs go deep, which would be great, I predict there'll be a lot of beer. So I might need to get on a weight loss program just to counteract all the beer. All right, take care.